In this video, I'm going to show you step-by-step instructions on how to replace the front display on the Samsung A16 5G. Not to be mistaken with the A16 4G, which comes apart slightly different, and I will get a video for that a little bit later on down the line. The main difference is that the back cover on this one is stuck on with some adhesive, whereas the 4G is just clipped on with the mid-frame cover all attached as one. So because the back cover is stuck on, we need to soften the adhesive using some heat. I know I normally recommend the heat mat to get these warm. However, I realise not everybody has a heat mat to hand. So instead, I recommend using a heat gun or a hairdryer to achieve the same effect. You don't have to get it super hot, just hot enough to soften the adhesive so that we can get our single-sided razor blade and create a small gap just in the bottom of the device there. You're then going to lift back on the incision that you made to make it a little bit wider so that we can get the plastic guitar pick in. And then with that in there, we're just going to work our way around this back cover, separating it from the mid-frame cover. And there is a bit extra adhesive on the camera lenses, so just beware. But continue working your way around. It is a plastic back cover on this one, so you don't have to worry about cracking any glass. And then once you've worked around all four edges, you should be able to lift it up pretty easily, just like that. And then we had a good result there because all the adhesive has stuck to the back cover. And whilst it's still a little bit warm, I would recommend going ahead and trying to remove as much of that adhesive as possible using your finger or your thumb, and then when you can, peel it back if it'll let you. I'm not going to bore you with me rubbing adhesive off this back cover, but we'll come back once it's all removed. So with all the adhesive now removed, I'm just going to pop it down to one side, ready for reinstallation later. And now we'll begin tearing down the phone. To do that, we're going to need to remove all these crosshead screws that are holding down this mid-frame cover. I'm using my supersonic electric screwdriver. These out. I believe all the screws on this one are the same size. Don't worry about mixing any of them up once you remove them, but just keep them neat because we are going to need them later on when we put this thing back together. If you like the look of this little electric screwdriver that I've got, I always put a link for it in the description below. And if you use the links to buy anything, I really appreciate it because we do get a little kickback from it. And it just helps this channel to grow because I can pay my staff's wages. So we've got all those screws out of the top area there. We'll move down to the bottom area here. And there's about 6 or 7 more of these little crosshead screws to get out of the way. So with the screws that ended up staying behind, just get your tweezers and ease them out. They can be a little bit springy, so don't let them fly off into the stratosphere. With all those screws removed now, we can disconnect this little connector here. That's for the power button or fingerprint sensor that's attached to the power button. And then we also need to remove the SIM tray using a SIM tray removal tool. Take the plastic pick and we're going to insert it. So moving on, I'm going to take the plastic pick and I'm going to insert it between the edge of the screen and just where we've took the SIM tray out there. And then we're going to start moving it down and it's going to sort of snap this mid-frame cover off the back of the phone or the front of the phone, depending how you're looking at it. And it's going to feel like you're breaking it and it's going to feel awkward, but this is the only way of getting this thing off. Once you've sort of made a good start at it, it will come off pretty easily, just like that. And then because you've already disconnected that, the rest of it will come away. Just make sure that that's disconnected, this little cable here. Put this guy to one side, ready for reinstallation later. And then the next most important step is to isolate power from the device by disconnecting the battery just here. There's one crosshead screw just here. Go ahead and get that out of the way. This is a different size to the rest of the ones we've took out already, so make sure you don't mix those. With these connectors, I'm going to leave that one connected, that one connected, and that one connected, as well as the front camera and rear cameras. That's because we can take the whole board out in one piece. However, we do need to disconnect this guy down here, as well as fishing this. This cable comes from the display and wraps around, so we need to get that off and out of the way. I've ripped through it there, which is one way to do it. A bit reckless, but you need to get underneath it. Tweezers would have been a better idea to get it off the subboard like that. I'll leave this coaxial cable connected as well, but I do need to remove this small crosshead screw here, and then same again, store that one for later. So the reason I leave all these connected is because it's really easy just to remove everything in one now. So we can just lift it up. Just be careful with this little coaxial cable, and then you can remove everything all as one, and then it goes in as one, and it puts no pressure on the rest of these connectors, especially when inexperienced hands are sort of handling them. If you leave them connected, you don't have to worry about reconnecting. Next up, we've got the battery. Samsung have made it quite easy to remove these newer batteries. We have to apply some isopropyl alcohol around all four edges of the battery, and then whilst that's soaking in, there's these little arrows what are pointing on the way to pull out the battery. So go ahead and lift that up like that, and then do the same to this part. This bit here is just sort of separating it so that it's not stuck down anymore, and then it should allow you to then have a good yank on this pull tab. And if you look where my hands are here and here holding the phone down, that's because we're pulling the battery away from it, and it comes away pretty easily like that. When I bought the parts for this last night, there wasn't a battery adhesive, so unfortunately I don't have one of those fancy pull tab things that we can reinstall. Instead, we're going to have to go for Tessa tape, and I'm going to use 10mm tape in 2 or 3 strips either side like that, and then we'll plonk one in the middle. And yeah, use Tessa tape. It's the best double-sided tape around. Don't be tempted to use glues or any other adhesives because they just don't work. Right, I'll put this battery to one side. I'm going to keep hold of this guy just here, but then we're going to introduce our new part. It comes like that. That's the new screen, and then we've got an adhesive seal for it as well. We don't need this until later, so let's open this guy up. And what you'll notice is that this comes with the frame already installed. It's also got this blue film hiding the bit where I want to look at, because I want to make sure some come with volume buttons, and this one does. So we've got the volume buttons, we've got the ear speaker, but it doesn't have the vibration motor. So we need to pull the vibration motor from this guy and move it onto the other one. Very, very simple to do. Just get your tweezers, get underneath this bit here, and then pop it out. The adhesive normally sticks to the vibration motor, and you can just literally take it from one and stick it straight into the new frame. So the frame, as I said, it comes with the new LCD attached. It's factory fitted, so that it's much better quality, and you don't have to use glue to stick an LCD onto the existing frame, which may have already been damaged. I know that you can buy the LCD only much cheaper, but usually they are terrible quality, very unreliable, and a bit more difficult to reinstall. That being said, let's crack on with this rest of this repair. I'm going to peel up that bit of film there, and then we need to install the battery. I've very nearly installed the board because I've left the connectors, the cables all connected. It would have been a bit of an obstacle to get the battery underneath that. So instead, we will reverse the steps that we took at the start, starting off with the battery. Very, very easy. Stick it down. There we go. And then we can get the board and subboard all connected as one. This has come a little bit loose there. Look, let's sort that out and place that down. Make sure that the front camera sits in properly and that this thing sits nice and flat. If it doesn't sit flat and it doesn't feel right, it probably is wrong. I would advise just double checking that you've got the right variation of screen, because I know that they aren't cross compatible. Let's get this little black screw into place now. Make sure that's nice and tight. And then we'll move down to the bottom where we can re-secure this subboard. If you notice, I just pushed that out of the way so that we don't get tangled up. And then we'll get it in place there. And there was another single crosshead screw that was holding this thing in place just here. And then what we can do, we can push that down there and reattach that one cable for the display. I'm just going to use my little black plastic stick to reattach or realign the coaxial cable into place, and I'm just pushing it in, making sure that it sits into that little groove that it needs to go into, just here. And then finally I can reconnect the battery. Once everything is installed, then we can come back with that mid-frame cover, and we're going to place it on top, and then I'm going to push down all around the edges, making sure that it clips back into place. There weren't many satisfying clicks when I did that, that was disappointing. But just make sure that it all sits flush and that everything's even all around all four edges before going any further. We can reconnect the fingerprint and power button cable now, and then we can go ahead and re-screw down all of those crosshead screws, making sure that we don't miss any out. Don't forget, if you like repair content just like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We release a repair video every single week, and I know from feedback that we've had from other repair technicians, they regularly use these videos whenever they get new phone models in, ones what they haven't come across before. And until last week when we recorded this is only the second A16 that we've had in following its recent release. So with all those screws installed, it's just time to stick this back cover on now. We've got the genuine Samsung service pack adhesive. What I did notice on this though, it comes with this little bit here, which we don't actually need because we're not removing the camera lenses. So what I need to figure out is if I think I know what I'm going to do. I'm actually just going to cut them out of the adhesive altogether. Just fold it over a little bit to get a little start, and then we'll chop these out so they're not getting in the way. This ain't going to be pretty, but it's best to leave the guide sheet on. Like, I could have done it easily without cutting it out, but then with the guide sheet off, it just gets messy, you know. So with that out of the way, I'm going to remove the clear part of it, of the adhesive, line up this top left corner, run it down this left hand edge, and once you've got the majority of the way down that left hand edge, the rest of it will follow and stick down where it's supposed to be. What we're going to do with this now is just use the plastic spudger to make sure that all the edges are secured down and nice and flat, and then we can find a point to, then we can peel it off like that and re-secure this back cover into place. I'm just applying pressure all the way around each edge just to make sure that it sticks on nicely. We can turn the device on now. So with that turned back on now, that is repair complete. Just make sure that touch works, buttons work, cameras work, chargers, etc. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. And also don't forget the SIM tray, of course. Magic.